Hey, what's up? What is the V Club here? Coming to you another video, and wanted to look at and it's a show about anything and everything. Nothing's off the table, and just kind of want to share my opinion on things and share about things that are relevant or coming out or been out and all that good stuff. So anyhow, let's just get started on it. All right. So one thing I wanted to talk about is the California propositions that were on the ballot. Because of course the big thing was the presidential elections that occurred, and with the election results. By the way, let's see what the latest numbers are looking like here. Let's see, where is it at? I gotta find it. Oh, here we go. Is this it? All right, so the latest number here is I think Arizona just came in. All right, pretty close. I guess these are the remaining ones, but you could tell if they're at 99%, that's pretty much a done deal here. So Trump pretty much, yeah, dominated here. So yeah, I mean it was what was speculated, right? They said around 300 plus. I think they were estimating like 310, 315. So that's where it all went, and 226 electoral votes. I mean, you can see the votes were kind of close, but what counts is the electoral, right? Because each state has a certain number of electoral votes. That's why they really concentrated on the swing states. And by the way, Trump swept all swing states. There were 7 of them. He swept them all. So, kind of really shows you uh, the dominance, right? And you look at what's left of the blue states. Um, they're pretty much sanctuary states slash cities that were in there, and of course, that's what's left of them here. And they're all woke. They're all blue. They're all um, illegal immigrant. Uh, you know, I guess places to go where they, feed them everything that you need to make illegals come here. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you see all that there, and that's what's happening. And these are all the popular places, right, along the west. Obviously, Colorado. They have Denver is a sanctuary city. New Mexico, because it's a border state there, and plus they're woke and blue. Chicago, Illinois, obviously New York, Boston, Massachusetts, Maine, all this eastern corridor here, right? DC obviously is woke. Virginia, yeah, I don't know Virginia, but anyhow, that's just a little bit of looking into that. And now let's look at the propositions, all right, of what occurred in California. So before the election, or before I guess the official count, I went over all the ballots that were on, and then what I felt was my vote on it, based on the information and why I did it. So now we can look at the results of what has come through. All right, so first one was Proposition 2, where they had bonds to fund construction and modernization of public education facilities. They passed that, right? Pretty much, yeah, a lot. And to me, anytime there's bonds and all that stuff, taxes, bonds, taxes now, bonds is later, right? You got to pay it back either way. It's like a loan. So all you're gonna do is you're digging yourself in a hole that future government would have to pay, right? So this is stuff that should already be funded. Why do you need additional money to fund modernization of public education facilities when the education facility infrastructure is already bad and falling apart, and they don't even care because we're one of the worst states in the country. And with the lockdowns going back, if you're going back to 2020, the lockdowns of keeping your kids at home, um, one of the worst education in terms of in the United States, in terms of just what we put out. So California is terrible, and I don't think this is doing anything but wasting money and putting money in pockets of whomever politicians are involved and companies that are tied to this. So yeah, that's a waste of money. And so next up here on the proposition, looks like the count is not all the way in yet because that's why they're not putting the results of this. So they're still counting on this one, I guess. Prop 32 looks like it's losing. Um, Maybe because it's kind of too close right now with the 51.49%. Increase the state minimum wage to $18 an hour is stupid. All right, it's already at 16 right now, and I voted no. Oh, the first one I voted no because it's just a waste of money. Second one here, Prop 32, I voted no because we're already at 16 an hour, 18 an hour. All you're doing is just taking more money away from businesses, corporations, and all that. And the whole purpose of minimum wage is not to be a living wage, right? It's more of a wage to, if you're working, you're in school and you're just getting, a job just to get by to pay basic bills, food, things like that. That's what that's for. But it's not meant to be, a minimum wage job is not meant to be like a living job that you could build a career on. It's a step, right? That you build up skills and all that, so you could elevate yourself to further your career. And so, $20 an hour was an experiment with the fast food wage in California, and the results of it didn't bring any fans to that. It led to massive layoffs, less people getting hired, businesses shutting down because you're increasing, the wages and cost of everything. So of course, what happens? Cost of everything also went up, right? What they charge at fast food now. That was an experiment and a test to see how that would turn out. This probably would, and I honestly think this would have been $20 an hour on the ballot had the $20 an hour on minimum wage succeeded. And so far, it doesn't look good with the $20 an hour. It's just got a lot of negative messaging about it. So that's why they put it at 18 on the ballot, and it's still not looking pretty good at all. So I hope it doesn't pass because it's not about the minimum wage. It's about the cost of everything else needs to be brought down, caused by high taxes, lots of taxes. Cost of living is because of that driven that up. Inflation because they continue to print money, all these handouts. You stop doing all that stuff. You stop with the heavy taxation of everything, and everything else would fall back, and it would make our already pretty good minimum wage at 16 an hour, which is almost, if not already double the rest of the United States. To me, that makes sense. To raise it, waste of money. Prop 33 repeals the Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act. This is kind of like a rent control measure or proposition. This overly and overwhelmingly did not pass because I voted against that too. All it was just to continue to put rent control in place and put a foothold on that to where landlords are getting their hands tied. They can't do anything, especially evicting people and all that, especially if they're not paying their bills, all that stuff. And this, all it does is just like further, I guess you could say, the renters, right? And to me, renters' rights is retarded. It's stupid. with all that, and it's bullshit. Because if you don't pay the bill, all right, maybe you get maybe a 30-day, 60-day at most reprieve, but to get all these renter protections, you got to go through a shit ton of bullshit just to kick someone out in an eviction. It's just stupid, and all this does is help fortify that, which it didn't, because obviously people voted against it. And if you are putting rent control and all these things on the landlords, I mean, in essence, you are holding down what the renter can do, right? And you're ruining the flexibility of what they can do. Couple that with inflation and cost everything so high. You know, they're paying out of their pocket, especially to pay for people that probably doesn't belong in these rentals in the first place. So I'm glad that this thing went down, because it just sucks to be a landlord. It sucks to be an owner of something of renting an establishment, because you can't do things the way you want to, because California forces you to protect the renter. So yeah, so fuck that. Good thing this thing went down. Let's move on. Proposition 34, campaign finance elections. All right, so this is requires healthcare providers to provide 90% of revenues from federal discount prescription drug program and direct patient care. Looks like it might pass here. It's very, very close because of the numbers here. So it looks like it's going to pass. This is one of the ones that I was able to go through, got my answer right away on these propositions, but this one was the hardest one. I kept going back and forth on it, and in the end I voted no, because there there's like a hidden sort of tax that it's going to come back on us. So it may look good on the surface, but from what I recall, it's like a tax that's going to end up being put on us eventually, because you think that on the surface they're going to pay for this. No, they're going to find a way for us to pay for it, and that's what this is going to be in the end. So that's why I voted no. But this was one of the hardest ones I had to cover here. This area here permanently authorizes a tax on managed care organizations to fund Medi-Cal programs. It overwhelmingly passed. Prop 35. I voted no, because they're going to do this, but again, it's going to find a way to trickle down for us to pay for it, because it's always like that. On paper it looks good, but we're going to be paying for it in the end. Prop 36. This is the big one. All right, we're going to come back to that one. We're going to do that one last. Prop 3, which is repeal Prop 8 and establish a right to marry. This is geared towards the same-sex marriage and all that. I guess Prop 8 was like anti-same-sex marriage. I think this was like early 2000s. I don't know when that came out. And then I guess they wanted to repeal that and establish the right to marry. I don't even think anybody even cared, like, in terms of it was California. Nobody cared about this particular thing. It was kind of pretty much ignored anyways, but I guess they wanted to put it on paper that now it's law and policy that you have the right to marry now, and so that passed, right? I don't even think to me it's just a formality and a waste of time, resources, and all that to put on the ballot, because it was already happening regardless. Nobody cared about Prop 8. So Prop 4, issue $10 billion in bonds to fund state and local parks, $10 billion in bonds for schools, $10 billion on fund state and parks and water projects, all this stuff. Problem is, what's this going to really do when it comes to water infrastructure projects, energy projects, all that stuff that they're already restricting on anyways? Like, what is this really going to do, right? Is it really going to make a difference if Gavin Newsom's already restricting the water infrastructures and what energy projects they're working on. Nothing to do with the PG&E grid, I bet. Nothing to do with any sort of if anything, it's going to feed into the Green New Deal. If anything, flood protection projects. I'm going to say that this thing's really going to go nowhere, and it's just going to fund the pockets of, again, the politicians, and it's really going to go nowhere. And all you're doing is just taking a loan, and this money's just going to just be frivolously used for bullshit, and you're going to see. And then you're going to come back to this and be like, oh yeah, but I voted for that. And it's like, well, yeah, all you're doing is voting for corruption. All they're doing is just funding their pockets, and that's it. Prop 5, lower the vote threshold from 2/3 to 55%. 2/3 is 66, right? For local bond managers that fund housing projects and public infrastructure. I voted no on this too because this, being that California is a supermajority, would have made California a lot easier to pass and tax and do all kinds of bullshit to housing projects. This would have been the start to all that when it came to housing decisions and anything to do with that. They say, we need to do this. All right, well, we'll just put it on the thing geared towards housing, and all we need is 55%, supermajority. All right, we already can easily hit 55% at any given time. So this right here it would have been bad because they're going to do some major bullshit in terms of raising maybe property taxes in some sort of way, all kinds of added fees to housing that we don't need because we already have to deal with high enough cost of all that already. So that was an overwhelmingly no, which is good. Glad to see that people have common sense here, because people are actually stupid and don't really read into it, but I'm glad that they read into this really well. Prop 6 is remove involuntary servitude as punishment for crime from the state constitution. They're trying to gear this towards, the quote-unquote slavery that never happened in California. So they're trying to do that across the board when it comes to labor in general, in terms of hard work labor that's possibly underwage, like illegals probably working on the fields. But this is mainly geared towards prisoners and the work in prison, that they're being forced to work as punishment. They got low wages, which is a given anyways because they're in prison. Are they being forced to work? No, they're not being forced to work at all in prison. And matter of fact, they are motivated to work because it just gives them something to do, and they don't care if there's a wage attached to it or not, because they actually look and for work to do. They want to do the work. They actually jump on that prospect of, oh, you're going to let me work? Oh, great, So to say that it's involuntary, it's forced, it's slavery, with all this other bullshit, this thing, people, and I don't think people even care because in the end they're still prisoners. I get that. But the advocates that are trying to give so-called prisoner rights and all that, I mean, they lost their rights when they committed the crime and they got locked up for it, right? Technically, right? You're talking about human rights. Oh, okay, so human rights. Well, human rights, it could only go so far, right? Because when is enough enough, all right? Again, you're locked up for a crime you committed, so, where is the point where you can actually lose your rights for a change instead of just giving them everything that they can have outside on the inside, right? So what's the point of all that? But yeah, they're not being forced to do any sort of hard work and slavery work and all that. I think you're looking at the old movies, where they put them out there chained to a rock and they're, chipping away at stone and doing all this heavy lifting and all that stuff that you see in the movies and stuff, and it's not even like that at all. The reality is, if they want to, if there's stuff that needs to be cleaned up, or there's stuff that needs to be worked on, or whatever it is, the case may be, they actually are motivated to want to work, believe it or not. And I know it's hard to believe, right? But yes, they are. They do want to work. And again, it's paid for or not, they don't care. All right. And let's just say I know. All right. Um, Now coming back to Prop 36. All right. This is the big one. All right. This is the biggest thing that dominated the propositions in 2024 besides the presidential election, because this was going to, in essence, repeal Prop 47. Prop 47 was passed in 2014, but I think it was improperly worded, and it was kind of like a dog, like a, what do you call that, a trick to make people think it's for safe and sane, neighborhoods act or whatever it was called, right? That it was supposed to help benefit safety, but in essence, all it did was it softened the blow for people that committed crimes. Felonies became misdemeanors, and it started a wave of bullshit to where you see stupid shit like a person could commit theft under $1,000, and you just get a misdemeanor, maybe a ticket, and maybe a you know appear in court notice, and then next thing you know, you could just do it again, right? As long as it's under $1,000. You could do it 30 times as long as it's under $1,000, and it's just the same thing over and over. And it's like, to me, common sense would have been, if you're stacking up and you already did two of them now, that's over $1,000. Wouldn't that make it an offense to actually lock you up on a felony? No, it's just the way it was written. You could do like 100 of them as long as under $1,000 each time, and you don't get locked up or nothing. It's like, what kind of shit is that, right? And so that's why you saw all the smash and grabs that got worse and worse, especially since the pandemic on. You start to see, no prosecution on lots of crimes, lots of heinous acts. I mean, you really had to commit like capital murder, and if you're lucky, to be able to be charged with some sort of, major crime to be actually locked up, because 2014 also with the Prop 47 did a lot of early release for prisoners when they probably shouldn't be released, and it just started because it costs so much money to put them in prison. Well then shit. How about it costs money for people to deal with it. It costs lives. So is it worth it to lock them up in the tune of people's safety and security of things? Yeah, I think the trade-off is better that way than to have them walking around the streets committing things over and over again. So of course statistics are off. They say, oh, well, see, crime is down, because it got to the point where, yeah, coupled with the early releases, the softer on crime, the defunding the police as it gone, as time went on into 2020 and forward, less officers on the streets, less time to actually pursue and enforce crime, because everything's so soft and everything is just catch and release, write you a ticket, notice to appear, all this other bullshit. The cycle just goes over. It's a vicious cycle. It just goes over and over and over again. And so you would think that you would think that it would be a detriment at some point, but it was a detriment for people to do anything anymore, right? So what happens? Businesses close, lives are lost, all this shit that happens, but statistically, crime is down, guys. Crime is down. See, look. Yeah, because it doesn't get reported anymore, because it's a waste of time to just even report it, because police hands are tied, they can't do nothing, and it's just stupid. So Prop 36 was proposed to take down Prop 47 and kind of reverse things back to the way it's supposed to be, where we can actually enforce laws and combat crime for a change. I mean, isn't that crazy, right? And because when it comes to these progressives, with especially they're all Soros backed, George Soros backed, where it's all about reform and there's different ways to be able to handle these situations than to lock them up. But in essence, you need them off the streets, because all they're doing is making lives worse, right? When it comes to criminals committing stuff, and in the end, oh yeah. So before that, even Newsom was trying to make it look like, oh, if you vote no, he was talking about, oh, there's a poison pill and all that stuff that is going to be released if you were to vote on this thing, and he had a bunch of his Democratic backers, right, from the Democrats, try to support what he was trying to come with in essence, an alternative to that, that would maybe take pieces of Prop 36 and implement that towards Prop 47, but it wouldn't have fixed Prop 47 because in the end, Gavin Newsom, his legacy is on Prop 47, because he thinks that the crime reform and all that stuff is working for California when it obviously is not. But that's just part of his arrogance and piece of shit that he is. And so, in the end, what happened was he had a deadline. I think it was supposed to be by July 31st or July 1st, something like that, that he was supposed to have this alternative submitted. But he was tied up trying to be the surrogate to Joe Biden when Joe Biden was still, running for re-election at the time, campaigning. He was trying to be Joe Biden's, supporting surrogate, right? And so, being that he was trying to immerse himself in that and not working on the alternative, he wasn't able to submit one by this sort of particular deadline for the proposition. And so this ended up being put through as it was, and there wasn't any sort of changes. There wasn't any alternative that Gavin Newsom was trying to propose, which was good. I'm glad that he had that Joe Biden distraction because it would have just been stupid. And all he was trying to do in his particular, I guess you could say, alternative was to just keep things as it is, maybe take away little bits and pieces of this Prop 36 and make it till at least till 2026 when he's out of office, because he's already maxed out by 2026. He can't rerun. So in essence, while he's in office, he's trying to make it so very little to nothing changes until he's out. Then you can do whatever you want, right? So fuck you, Gavin, because he's just a piece of shit. And I'm glad that this thing got voted through, and can't wait to see this thing get implemented and bring California back in this aspect, a little bit of normalcy back again, in terms of combating crime and all that. And there's better ways to help when it comes to when it comes to drug crimes and all this other stuff, and ways to handle these people that are in the streets, right? Especially this whole housing and they're unhoused and they got no place to go, they're homeless, and how he spent over $24 billion, now $25 billion, and got nothing but a worsening situation of homelessness, which is like stupid. But obviously, it's all just pocketed. Every one of these things that he's done, it's to pocket him and his people that are proposing these sort of budgets, bonds, taxes, and all that stuff, and it really does nothing for the working people. So you dumbass West Coast, city people got to wake up, because all you're seeing is the surface, but you're not seeing what's really affecting people, and that's why um, we're in what we're in right now in California. You're wondering why is San Francisco just keeps getting worse, right? And you live in it, and but you still vote for it, right? Things like that. You go to places like L.A., you go to San Diego, and you're looking around, right? Because these are coastal cities, and you're wondering why is it getting worse? I thought I did all this. I voted for this. I voted for that. Why is it getting worse? Well, yeah, because obviously you support the politicians that's supposedly supposed to work for you, but they're not working for you. All they're doing is working for their pockets. And until that changes, well, you see what you see, right? The results are happening right now in California. It's worse than it's ever been. Until that changes, and you guys wake up, we're going to be stuck in the same thing over and over again. But anyhow, I just wanted to share this with you guys, especially Prop 36. That was a great proposition. This one dominated, and obviously, look at that, over 70%, cared for change to the, to the behesting of the blue politicians and DAs and all that. Man, they don't like this one. They don't like it, right? They rather just have things the way it's been happening rather than actually fighting crime and actually enforcing laws. Isn't that crazy? But yeah, so my next one, I'm going to talk about uh, DAs, mayors, politicians in California that got voted out. And this is significant because it's really telling you that people are actually starting to want some change for the good finally, right? And in my profession, they always say it's all about how the pendulum swings, right? So you have two sides of it. You got the worst side, you got the good side. And right now, the pendulum has swung so far to the bad that eventually it's going to swing back to the good at some point. So that's my whole take on it. I just want to share this with you guys. Let me know what you think. And how everything went down. I voted everything no except for 36. I voted yes on that one. And so, other than that, because all this bond stuff, all you're doing is making people, pay in the future, right? And so it doesn't matter. But you guys are idiots and morons. You guys will eventually figure that out, maybe in the future. I don't know. But anyhow, that's the latest here. Comment down below. Subscribe to the bell icon. I'll see you next one.